Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We're just waiting a few minutes for all participants to come in. Welcome to our webinar.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all those in attendance. Thank you for participating in today's webinar on gender equality and girls' education during COVID-19. My name is Nicole Soshberg, and I'm a graduate student at Columbia University studying cognitive science and education and a data analyst in UNICEF's evaluation office. Today, I have the privilege of introducing our panelists. Our first panelist will be Dr. Ingrid Sanchez Tapia, who is an education specialist focusing on gender equality in education and secondary education with UNICEF headquarters. She also contributes to the UNICEF's Reimagine Education. Currently, Ingrid is leading efforts to strengthen programming on gender equality in education across UNICEF's global education programs and within the UNFPA UNICEF Global Program to accelerate action to end child marriage. Before UNICEF, Ingrid was a professor of education in the United States, Colombia, Panama, and Chile. Her research has focused on designing learning environments that support adolescents' development in STEM-related knowledge and skills, with an emphasis on marginalized groups. For over a decade, Ingrid supported the Ministries of Education in Latin America in the curriculum reform efforts and national level initiatives on teachers' professional development. Our second panelist will be Pia Gladys Pere, who is the founder and creative director of self-named brand label Pia Gladys Pere, or PGP. She is a mother of four and an experienced fashion designer who has worked in the fashion industry for more than 20 years. She has demonstrated a history of working in retail and wholesale with strong merchandising and design expertise. And she is skilled in retail, sales, product development, trends, marketing, PR, branding, and global trade. Pia's self-named brand has become the go-to label for glamorous pieces with its romantic flair, as each dress embodies the elegance of the modern woman. Following Pia, we will have Nefertari Plessy, who is a trailblazer for entrepreneur business owners and leaders. She is a sought-after consultant, media coach, and motivational speaker who has trained over 5,000 women to launch their online business, built digital audiences, gained financial freedom, and established wealth-building strategies through her non-for-profit Single Moms Planet. Nefertari has spearheaded relationships with major brands such as Starbucks, Anastasia of Beverly Hills, iHeartRadio, Bank of America, and the NFL through her media and branding company, Elevated Strategist. Our last panelist will be Noella Corsares Musanka, who in 2007 founded Malaika, which is a non-profit impacting thousands of lives in the Democratic Republic of the Congo through enhanced access to education and health programs. Noella is an international model and philanthropist of Congolese and Cypriot heritage, and she is a voice for the power of girls' education worldwide. She's also an ambassador for the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, and an advisor at Concordia. She has shared her insights at a number of various world-class forums spanning the World Economic Forum in Davos, the universities of Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, and MIT, and the offices of UNICEF. In 2017, she was named one of the BBC's 100 Most Influential and Inspirational Women of the Year. She has also recently received an award from the House of Mandela at the Nelson Mandela Centenary Celebration. Our discussant will be Adrienne Chikwe, who is an evaluation specialist in the UNICEF office. Every Child Learns and covers issues of access to education, equity, and gender. In the recent past, he supported and led evaluations on girls' education, education emergencies, and inclusive education for children with disabilities and early childhood development. Under Goal Area 5, Adrienne's work focused on UNICEF's program tackling key dimensions of discrimination and inequality, particularly in social protection. His previous roles have included policy analysis and development work in various sectors, including gender. I hope everyone is excited as I am to hear from these exceptional speakers today. Please use our Q&A function to ask them questions throughout the webinar. as our Q&A section will be at the end of all the presentations. And with that, I'll hand the floor over to Ingrid.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Ingrid Sanchez Tapia, Girls Education Lead here at UNICEF headquarters. I am going to walk you through today to some of the work that UNICEF is doing on girls' education with an emphasis on our COVID response. And hopefully this is a good framing for the rest of the conversation. So what's our vision? Our vision is that all girls are skilled up. All girls, including girls with disabilities in crisis and conflict context, should be in school, learning and developing the necessary knowledge and skills for work and life. No matter the context, every girl should have access and the right to enjoy 12 years of quality education. This is not only girls' right, but studies show that if every girl in the world would finish 12 years of quality education, lifetime earnings for women could increase by 15 to 30 trillion dollars. That's huge for communities, for nations, and for the empowerment of girls and women themselves. Girls' education contributes to mitigating and adapting to climate change, including through the development of new skills for the green economy. So investing in girls' education is a smart investment. So what's the challenge? Girls are disproportionately affected by the global learning crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated this crisis. So as of now, 132 million girls are out of school. That is huge. And many millions more are not developing the foundational, transferable, digital, entrepreneurial, and job-specific skills they need to realize their potential because they are in schools where the quality of education is low or the conditions are subpar, so they cannot realize their full potential. Before the crisis struck, nearly 1 in 4 girls aged 15 to 19 globally were not in education, employment, or training, compared to 1 in 10 boys. So you can see there is a big gender disparity here. The COVID-19 pandemic, as I said, has only exacerbated these disparities, leaving marginalized girls even further behind. If this gender gap widens, the consequences will be irreversible for many girls. The current estimation is that if the schools don't reopen, these closures could drive 20 million more secondary school age girls out of school after the crisis has passed. And nearly 200 million adolescents who are out of school globally right now have limited availability of flexible pathways, so that marginalized girls specifically don't have the means, don't have the availability of programs to complete their education. So what are we doing against this backdrop? The opportunity is to use this crisis to revolutionize education systems for girls. So UNICEF's agenda for girls' education consists on starting early. During the pre-primary years, all girls should enjoy quality pre-primary education, free of gender stereotypes, with equal learning opportunities. Then, when they move on to primary education, they should experience gender-responsive education, free of violence, be able to develop foundational and transferable skills necessary for transitioning to secondary education. And during adolescence, girls, especially the most marginalized, should complete 12 years of education in flexible and safe learning environments where they develop learning and skills necessary for delaying pregnancy, marriage, and transitioning into employment and living healthy and empowered lives. So that is the vision that we are working towards with our partners. And our approach to achieve it, so there is systemic sustainable change, is working with governments and partners to strengthening the gender responsiveness of education sector plans, of education budgets, strengthening capacity at national and subnational levels in areas such as gender analysis, gender responsive pedagogy, teaching and learning materials, making sure that there is alignment of inputs and actors in the education system to address gender inequalities, improving the alignment of education systems with other sectors to tackle barriers to girls' education, for example, school-related gender-based violence, adolescent pregnancy, child marriage, and other harmful practices that prevent girls from accessing schools or drive them away from completing their education. And last but not least, we are investing in improving links with social protection systems to address, amongst other things, household financial barriers that prevent girls from learning. Our key priorities for girls' education. So I will summarize here. So first one, and most important right now, is getting girls back to school. There are millions of girls that continue out of school because of COVID, and even before COVID, refugee girls, internal displaced girls, girls in context of emergencies, living in poverty, were excluded from the education system. We want to make sure that all these girls go back to schools that are better. Addressing the learning crisis also includes advocacy for better and increased financing of girls' education, especially in poorest and fragile states. Education in emergencies means that girls' education is key for mitigating and adapting to the changing climate. We are specifically advocating for G7 governments to support the resilience of education systems, including through system strengthening, investment in quality digital learning, and green skills for adolescent girls. Something very important as well is that we need to innovate and accelerate pace so that all girls complete 12 years of education. That means that we need to meet them where they are through flexible pathways for learning so that they develop the secondary level knowledge and skills that they need to transition to further education and work. And safe learning, very important, ensuring that every learning experience girls have is cross-sectoral, holistic, addresses gender-based violence and other harmful practices that keep girls from an education. So what specific results have we achieved in UNICEF in collaboration with partners during 2020 as part of our COVID response? Globally, UNICEF has reached over 300 million children with distance learning. 49% of them are girls. Over 48 million out-of-school children participated in early learning in 2020 from primary and secondary education through UNICEF-supported programs. That's compared to 17 million in 2019. So you can see that we sharply increased our response. Overall, 18.6 million girls benefited in 2020 compared to 8.4 million in 2019. In humanitarian settings, UNICEF prioritized rapid acceleration of education access, contributing to this sharp increase that we are reporting for pre-primary, primary, and secondary education for girls. While 23 million were reached in 2019, 42 million benefited in 2020. So now I am going to share with you some specific examples from the field. The first one is from Zimbabwe, closing the digital gender divide. So not only in Zimbabwe, but in a growing number of countries, UNICEF is rolling out an exciting innovation. This is a collaboration between UNICEF, the University of Cambridge, and Microsoft, so that marginalized girls and boys, wherever they are, have access to quality digital learning, so that even when schools are closed or it's dangerous to go to school, they can learn. The government of Zimbabwe has already launched this initiative, aiming to reach 300,000 learners by the end of 2021. I'd like to play a video now so you can learn a bit more about this initiative that is very exciting. So Celeste, if you could please help me with the video, go for it.
UNICEF promotes quality learning.
Apologies on that. The audio was not working. Let me do it again.
UNICEF promotes quality learning for every child. But the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic is overwhelming, with long-term implications for children's learning, safety, health, and well-being. This is why the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, Microsoft, the University of Cambridge, and UNICEF have come together to launch the Learning Passport in Zimbabwe. The Learning Passport will improve the education of millions of children and young people. The Learning Passport is a digital platform with a library of teaching and learning resources covering the entire primary and secondary education curriculum, as well as teaching training materials. It opens up opportunities for online learning for children in and out of school. Parents, caregivers, and teachers can select the material that meets the level of knowledge and interest of their children. Children can learn at their own pace and complement their learning at school.
With my learning passport, I am now able to learn at home as I study to pursue my dreams of becoming a doctor.
Find out more and start your journey with the Learning Passport.
Thank you, Celeste. So I am going to continue sharing the slides from here. So this is an exciting initiative that, although benefits boys and girls, disproportionately benefits girls, contributing to closing the gender digital divide. Another example. Okay. Oh, no. Oh. Okay, here we go. It's from Malawi. The government of Malawi, in collaboration with UNICEF, is working very hard to boost the learning levels for girls. We are rolling out alternative models that allow adolescent girls who have dropped out to catch up on learning and transition back to secondary or any other alternative pathway. So the way this works is that in primary schools, after hours, girls learn foundational, transferable life skills and vocational skills so they can get back on track and complete 12 years of education with quality. One more example from Liberia, making sure that more adolescent girls are back into secondary schools, is a collaboration with the Ministry of Liberia, as I said, on the Gender Equitable Education Program, targeting specifically girls in grades 7 to 9 and boys as well at risk of dropping out so that they access academic tutorials, child-centered instruction, girls clubs, and community advocacy. So both girls and boys learn about gender equality, the importance of girls' education so they can support each other and progressively change the gender norms that prevent girls from an education. And last but not least, this is a very interesting example in Vietnam. UNICEF is working with the government to take in gender-responsive STEM education to scale. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, an integrated approach that is very promising for achieving gender equality. They are implementing a raft of measures to champion gender equality. For example, integrating comprehensive sexuality education into STEM from preschool to secondary, including content on gender, power dynamics, and human rights in the teacher guidelines so that they can teach in appropriate ways for the age of the children. Developing gender-responsive career counseling to encourage girls to become interested in STEM jobs and providing ethnic minority girls with STEM mentors so that they can access better paid jobs in the future. building gender-sensitive budgeting and digital literacy frameworks into the new education sector plan to close gaps in STEM learning outcomes for girls and address the digital gender divide, and innovations for the most marginalized girls, introducing augmented and virtual reality education solutions for the most remote rural provinces where teachers have difficult access to STEM training and children don't have access to technologies. So these are just a few examples of what UNICEF is doing in the field. And over to you, Nicole, for the rest of the presenters as well to share their exciting work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next we'll have Pia.
Hello, everyone. I believe we're starting with a video, so Celeste.
Yes, queuing it up.
You can go.
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has declared a lockdown of the capital Metro Manila.
Unemployment in the Philippines averaged 10.4% this year, making 2020 the worst year of joblessness on record.
The International Justice Mission identifies the Philippines as a global hotspot of online sexual exploitation of children. And this problem even worsened because of the pandemic. The rise in cases of teenage pregnancy has always been a national concern, but just recently it has become a, quote, national social emergency.
The Philippine government has implemented a distance learning program for all schools to help stop the spread of coronavirus.
Authorities believe schooling can continue even from home. They are implementing distance or remote learning, a method that delivers lessons through various ways, including online, television, radio, and printed materials.
One big factor here is the access to technology available to them. And
who provides the laptop?
Myself gave many of the tablets.
Oh, wow.
That we provided for not only for the for the scholars but for the students na deserving.
Do you see the same amount of girls, women trying to engage in education and free education and take advantage of all this?
Sure, actually, I think there are more women and ladies than that of men. Women are more studious than men.
So many strong women in the Philippines, and that's good to hear because they're telling me gender equality. You know what? I told them, I don't think that's a problem in the Philippines.
Yeah, we have more women participating than men.
Over to you, Pia.
Hold on one second. Let me just put up my presentation. Sorry for having technical difficulties. There we go. Sharing my screen now. So I wanted to say good day to everyone, regardless of where you are. I'm Pia. As Nicole have mentioned, I'm a fashion designer. And I want to thank you all for joining us today in our discussion in this very important and pressing issue that has affected so many of us and altered our lives in ways that we can't even imagine. So I am assigned to talk about poverty and education. And as it seems, they're always intertwined, but in the pandemic, it has become more evident how they're always go together. And I want to start from my home because I always think that for us to be able to relate in situations ourselves, we always start from home. So I was born to a family in the Philippines. My father was very poor. His dad passed away when he was a teenager, so he was forced to be a breadwinner for his siblings, his six siblings, and work for other families and ask relatives for help so that he can finish school and get a degree. However poor he was, he believed in the power of education and how it can change his life as well as the people that he loves. So that's how me and my other siblings managed to study in the best universities in the Philippines. My mother, however, came from a middle class family. They have together 8 siblings, and she was a teacher and later on worked for the government. During her service in our small town, she was able to build 5 preschools. And in telling you this, I think you will have an idea of how my parents believed in the power of education. We know that it can change lives. It changed our lives. In our family, we can be whoever we want to be, regardless of our gender. So you can imagine I was a little shocked when I discovered the inequalities that still exist in our society, that girls and women still face some of these gender disparities and how it has gotten worse during the pandemic. So as we all know, ideally, education is a basic human right. It's a solution to reduce poverty, promote gender equality, foster understanding of each other, personally and culture wise, and promote stability. But somehow these two are like, the classic tale of the chicken and the egg. Which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? Which one do we address first, poverty or education? With the pandemic, we're faced with so many issues, including governments decreasing budgets for education when COVID-19 began. Therefore, so many students had limited access to education, all the more for girls. What a lot of us don't realize is that apart from girls learning in school, it goes beyond that for them. Apart from learning, girls are generally safer. They feel safer in school, away from gender related abuse. Yet somehow, still, society dictates that girls should be more domesticated than boys. A girl, Isra from Egypt, said it has been so hard for her to stay home because her brother actually expects her to serve him while he does not contribute to any household chores. So she has less time to study her lessons at home. So, yeah, that is one problem. And then COVID, like during the Ebola outbreak, made many girls become sole breadwinners in the family. When this crisis ends, like what happened in the past, there's a big chance that these girls will not be able to go back to school because the priority will actually be earning for their families than attending school. Save the Children charity warned us that 2020 will be a very big year for irreversible setbacks and lost progress for girls, predicting that more girls are at risk of being forced into child marriage and 1 million more expected to become pregnant. This increase brought about, according to studies, a total of child marriages of 12.5 million in 2020. I think that's rather an alarming number. There's also the issue of teenage pregnancy. Since girls are not in school, they tend to hang out and spend more time with men and boys, which can lead to engagement in risky sexual behavior and increased risk in sexual violence and exploitation, since there's also very less availability of sexual education for girls at the moment. And then on top of this, as Nicole has mentioned, I'm a mother and I have 3 girls. So sexual abuse trafficking, and other sex-related crimes are what my nightmares are made of. And a lot of this happen while the girls are online trying to learn. The increase of sexual abuse have been so great that recovery is almost hard to see. A lot of countries in Southeast Asia have been identified as global hotspots of online sexual exploitation. And the hardest part is, according to US Today, many millions of images and videos of children and even newborn babies being raped and abused or being coerced in performing sexual acts on the camera. And they're constantly circulating the internet. What may begin as seemingly an innocent chatting between strangers online can lead to sextortion, abduction, and human trafficking. All of this is happening while girls are trying to learn online. Now, I think this is really a serious problem apart from the virus itself. I think we all have to realize that girls' education is really one of the best way for a better future, to have a stronger economy. One of my friends said, his name is Dave, he laughingly said that girls are just generally smarter than men. And coming from a country of strong women, I do believe that this is true, but not just for the Philippines, but for the whole world. We just need some boost. We just need some additional budgets to be extended to us so that education during the pandemic will increase instead of decreasing it. In cities like the Philippines, in the Philippines, they have built a small call center where students can actually virtually get taught one by teachers. Indonesia had set up learning home guidelines that included online learning, television, and print materials. In Nepal, a 3-month radio advocacy campaign called Keeping the Girls in Picture is broadcasted weekly by 26 radio stations, using radio dramas, interviews to draw attention to harmful practices that perpetuate gender-based discrimination, inequalities in education, and what can be done to address these problems. Everyone must realize that there is the most urgent need to raise awareness on protecting girls against sexual and gender-based violence during and beyond the pandemic. We must follow suit of groups, communities, and countries that are raising awareness of the crisis and child protection risks of lockdown, including sexual violence through different channels and providing targeted support to households that are actually vulnerable. I think in the midst of all the chaos and pain, we need to somehow look at the silver lining, and in all the separation that we have experienced, we need to find it in us to be steadfast and stay vigilant so that we can stay grateful that even in the most trying times, there are people and groups like UNICEF who devote their time, resources, and energy to make sure that students continue to learn, that families have food on their table, and what is needed to continue to have quality education is provided. We salute teachers like Christian Nivales who visit his students, especially those who are struggling to learn, to make sure that they are interested in education and that they are safe. People like Dave Almarinas, who goes above and beyond his role as the CEO of Philippine International Trade. Dave devotes so much of his time distributing food and other essential needs of families, using mostly his own resources to distribute tablets and provide free internet so that students can continue learning. He agrees that we can empower girls by educating them, since girls become women who multitask and stay dedicated in what they do. So in ending, I want to thank everyone for this wonderful opportunity. And I would like to leave you with a note this young lady, Sadie, said in one of the videos that I watched, that this will end, the distance will disappear, and the hugs will return. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now we'll have Nefertari present.
Hello, everyone. I am going to start with a video. Let's see.
As we continue to celebrate Women's History Month, we're paying a big tribute to mothers who have been tested above and beyond this past year. One local organization has been a champion for single moms even before the pandemic and continues to support those looking for new ways to provide financially for their families.
So who's first now?
After a year of being cooped up at home during the pandemic, Nefertari Plessy has figured out a few good ways to keep her two boys entertained. But when she got divorced a few years ago, she didn't have a clue about how to manage the many challenges of being a single mother.
As I went through everything that I was learning, you know, as a new mom that was also then turning into a divorcee, a co-parenting mom, a single mom, all these different labels and layers, I was like, I need help. I need someone to tell me how to get from A to Z. And that was really what sparked me to create Single Moms Planet, was I needed the support.
What was born out of her own desperation and the struggle to find balance and raise happy children has turned into a multifaceted organization called Single Moms Planet. Over the past 6 years, the group has provided resources to over 24,000 families, and Nefertari is on a personal mission to uplift, educate, and empower the lives of under-resourced mothers nationwide, building one strong family at a time.
Some moms have been taking off and thriving, and some are just left there feeling confused, alone, and not knowing which direction to go in. And so having community organizations like Single Moms Planet, and also really getting the community to come in and acknowledge that these moms are going through a little bit more than everyone else, it really is going to be a big help.
From their Smart Mommy, Smart Money conferences to vision board mastermind brunches to camping excursions and athletic events with the kids, the Los Angeles-based Single Moms Planet is supporting mothers through financial literacy seminars, mentorship, family counseling, entrepreneurial training, and family bonding activities.
We are looking at doing our tennis camp again.
While all events have been on hold during the pandemic, Nefertari has continued being a source of support and information to her 10,000 single mom members virtually. She says many single mothers have been really struggling due to job loss this past year, so Single Moms Planet has been helping them find new sources of income.
So many moms are putting their businesses online and wanting to figure out, how do I sell products? How do I start an online website? How do I create economy for myself and my family? And we've been really there to fill in that gap.
The African proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child," has never been more relevant. But an addendum to that is it also takes a village to support a single mother.
You have a mom in your community that you know is a single mom, or she's your neighbor, you know, bring her an extra bag of groceries if you can. You know, watch the kids for her for 10 or 15 minutes, just so she can maybe sometimes just get a breath of fresh air, or maybe lay down for 5 minutes. They're probably going to tell you no. Most single moms will say, I got it figured out. I don't need anything. Don't believe her. Bring her something else anyway. It really does go a long way. All right. Well, I am excited to be here today. And this topic is just very important to me, mainly because, as you can see, I am a single mom, co-parenting single mom, and a woman that is definitely on a mission to make sure that all women are supported right now, all children are supported, and especially our girls, right? So we really want to make sure that with the topic I'm going to speak about today, we're all going into working mothers in the pandemic. And the four main topics that I want to talk about are working moms in crisis, working mothers balancing the household, and working mothers with children in remote learning. And then the last thing is working mothers with no outside help or support, right? And you see, working mothers in crisis, ethnic mothers and single mothers are among the hardest hit women by the pandemic, which has left them alone and drastically, right, behind in the workforce. We're scrambling, we're trying to figure everything out, and sometimes we just can't make the ends meet, right? You're trying to feed the kids, you're gathering everything together as much as you possibly can, and sometimes you just don't know where to turn. Working mothers balancing the household. So women find themselves taking care of children while working part-time or working jobs at home have experienced the brunt of the crisis. And millions of women globally have left the workforce since February 2020, with economists warning that a lost generation of working parents may never bounce back. Now, I talk to hundreds and hundreds of mothers on a weekly basis, and a lot of them are really not grasping exactly what it is that they need to do. And so organizations and conversations like the one that we're having, and organizations like Single Moms Planet, we really do help fill that gap so that the mother is not felt like she's alone in this and she's trying to figure it all out alone. That's where we come in, right? And working mothers balancing the household. So worldwide, women do at least 2.5 times more unpaid housework and caregiving than men. And according to the United Nations, even if both parents work full-time outside of the home, when you add in gender pay inequality, the lack of paid family leave, and unaffordable childcare in some countries, you can clearly see what's been created, an unbalanced experience for many families, right? So no matter how you stretch it, the mom is trying to figure out how to get it all done. And sometimes things just don't get done the way that she wants to. So that leads to stress, anxiety, unsureness as well, and not feeling as though she's being effective, all while trying to be the breadwinner or a part of the solution in the household income. Then we have working mothers with children who are going to be learning remotely, right? So the pandemic has really brought us into the household, really needing to have that child get that education in the home, as well as communicating with them about, exercise and staying fit and what are they going to eat. So all these different layers that are going on. And it has just been a stressor for a lot of families. And so the way that many countries engage with their children's education has widely utilized the public and private school system, especially for elementary school age children, right? So if you're a mom and you have little ones at home, I totally understand. Mines are 11 and 14 years old. I can't even believe he's 14 already. I have 2 boys. And oh my goodness, they're a lot more self-sufficient. But if I had little ones, I really don't know what I would do. I'm a mom and I work from home and I run my own business. And so that entrepreneurial spirit is there, but it can become very difficult when you have those little ones at home. So I really, urge us all to really come together during this time because of this. And the parents of many children are working to make ends meet, right? You're working so you can put that food on the table. And without the outlet of school, these parents are left grasping the idea of raising their children at home while schooling them in running an entrepreneurial in-home business or working within a traditional job setting from home. So you're either working from home, running your own thing, or you're working from home, working for someone else. And that can be very stressful, right? Or some parents are even just now starting to go back out into the workforce and having to leave their little ones at home by themselves, right? So you have the children really raising each other or the older sibling stepping in. And working mothers, a lot of times we don't have a lot of resources. And some of these moms have no outside resource help, right? And you see working mothers face going at this primarily alone with no outsource help. The additional time and cost in meal prep, bonding time with children, and not having consistent outlets for children to interact and play has left many women feeling alone, depressed, and completely overwhelmed. Many of the world's outdated structures around proper support for women and children have been broken long before COVID, right? So a lot of these things that we're talking about today were issues that we already had prior to COVID. It's just that now the pandemic has put a spotlight on what many families have been sweeping under the rug for far too long, which is a silent cry for help and support. And see, this is where we all come in, right? And it's like, well, what can we do now, right? What can families do now? So the number one thing I really want us to stay focused on is moving our bodies. So this is really important because it does lead to us having that oxygen in our systems, making sure that we're getting fresh air, we're staying active, and we could be doing this in collective with our families and with our children. And it's going to be really important that we do this because it is also going to those, the mind going and everything really in alignment with your body. The next thing is turn daily activities into bonding moments. So sometimes we don't really have that extra time to have that bonding moment with our kids, or it feels overwhelming, especially now. I mean, when I was growing up, I was even saying to my mom the other day, she actually raised me as a single mom fully by herself. We didn't interact as much as I interact with my kids. Our kids are around us so much more. They're not really going outside alone. I would go on bikes and adventures by myself. We don't really have that. So right now, I really want us to figure out how can we create those bonding moments and those activities and turn them into one moment, right? And then create that 5 minutes of alone time each day. Just 5 minutes, just do something that you love to do, right? Connect with yourself, read a book, talk to a friend, eat some ice cream, just stare at the stars, just something that just puts you in alignment. It could be reading, a spiritual book that you really connect to, or just sitting in silence can also go a long way. And the last thing that I would like to say, which I think is one of the most important, is don't go at this alone. Join a community support group and really ask for help when you need it. Don't wait till it's too late to ask for help. Ask for help before you think you even need it, because that's when people can really step in and really, really help you the most. And I would love to stay in touch with you all. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Nefertiri Plessy and at Single Moms Planet. And it was really delightful speaking with all of you.
Thank you so much for that great presentation. Now we welcome Noella.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I love to hear. It was a pleasure really amazing to hear all the story and the work that you're doing, but very alarming to see all the statistics that's happening via this pandemic that we are on. I'm Noella Kosaris Musunga. I will start first with a video and a little presentation, and will explain to you what is Malaika, a foundation that I set up 13 years ago that empower girls and communities in the Congo through education and health programs. So maybe we can play the video. Thank you.
Come this. Malaika start on a piece of paper, and from a piece of paper it become this. Malaika is a community-driven program. We have a school, a community center, we build wells, and we have an agriculture program. So it's all an ecosystem. Malaika School, it's from 5 years old to 18 years old. We give them breakfast, lunch, they have holistic curriculum. It's about a community coming together and a team coming together. We built in a village where there is no water, where there is no electricity. So it was very important that yes, we have a school, yes, we have a community center, but how can we serve the community too, and how we can work together. The success of Malaika is to work as a team with a vision, with values, and I think when you walk all around the school, you see a lot of key words about what is the value, what is the mission of Malaika. It's the support of everyone all over the world, and I'm very thankful that they believe in Malaika and what we are today.
So Malaika was really coming from my own story. I was born in the Congo. My father died when I was 5 years old, and my mother didn't have any resources to keep me. So I was the only child, and my mother decided to give me away to have a chance to get an education. And I grew up in Europe, and I went to see back my mother after 13 years. And I was extremely touched of the level of poverty she was living, but seeing how many children were out of school, how many lack of infrastructure, how many children could not have access to healthcare. And in my dream was not only to help my mother, but to give back in my country and on my continent. And Malaika has been 13 years. We started very small with sponsoring girls that were abandoned, they were sexually abused. We were paying their orphanage, their school fees, but it was very difficult to follow the courses at school. So we decided really to build an ecosystem in the village of Kalibuka. Can we see the screen? Slide. We're working in a village where there is no water, where there's no electricity. We completely transformed over the last 13 years what is Kalibuka. So it's an ecosystem that we build and managing the school, a community center that we build and completely offering different range of programs at the school, at the community center. We grow our own food and we build 20 wells over the 13 years. And we're gonna launch the blueprint toolkit, the model by end of the year to share with individuals, NGOs, government, how they can duplicate the ecosystem that we created, either if it's the school or the community center or any component of the programs. But it's very important always to have the buy-in of the community, to have 100% of the implication. And I do believe why Malaika has been successful is because all the staff is from Congo. They know their problems, they know their solution, they speak the language, they know the culture, and it's so key to make developing a strong program. Next slide. We're really preparing our girls for the 21st century skills. All our students arrive at 5 years old until 18 years old. There's a village where the population doesn't even earn $1 a day. So we provide to our students socks, shoes, underwear. When they have the period, we're giving them sanitary pads. All our staff, we put a lot of emphasis on training and doing a lot of training for the teachers, training for the management. In April, we will do a training for more than 50 teachers in collaboration with the Minister of Education. When in Congo, you have to pass on 6th primary, you have 6th primary grade, you have to pass a national test, or all the schools have to pass the same test. And our school for 4 years in a row passed the national test. And this year was very challenging because the school has to close for nearly 5-6 months, and there's no electricity, no water in the village, and they cannot listen to radio for their homework, and we cannot give them tablets because the security, and they don't have electricity. So we had to go every day in the village to distribute the homeschool and have it back. And it was a way that we can know how is their health and how they're coping and how they're doing. And we prepared them well for the national test. And this year we took 9 girls from the 5th primary. They passed 1 year in advance the test, and they all passed it. So it was a big success for the team, a big success how you need to innovate the way you're working when a pandemic like that arrive. And we're really emphasizing on the digital skills, really teaching from a young age, with iPad, with Page, with Scratch, and different programs, and they're really, really, really enjoying. Lolat, she was telling us that when she speaks with other friends in the village, or when even she go in town, when she speaks about what she's learning with coding and etc., they didn't understand none of what she was saying. So we are probably one of the 10 best schools in the Congo because we're investing so much, first of all, at a young age, but because the student will eat maybe twice a week at their home, we make sure that they have breakfast and they have lunch every day at our school. And that was a huge problem when all our programs were closed because the nutrition and the health were at risk. And we lost 3 students during this pandemic, little Esther, Noella, and Annie. When our programs are open, we make sure that the health is good. We make sure that any issues, we do a checkup, we bring them to the hospital, we talk with their parents. But when everything is closed, it's very, 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 very difficult. When the school opened back, we got 80% of the girls came back, and we had to do a lot of work to talk with the parents and really make them understand it's very important that the girls come back to the school, because it is a leadership for school, and we've been investing since they are 5 years old. And now we have 98% of the girls that came back. But because since more than 13 years, our emphasis was a lot about the communication and really working with the parents and to make them understand why education is important. Next slide. And 85% of the money we're raising go back to the programs. I don't take any salary. I put my passion. I lead Malaika because I do believe that change comes from a grassroots level. I do believe that it's really a community working with different components from the government, from organizations like UNICEF, that can really transform an entire generation that needs that we invest. But not only investing in education. I will say nowadays you really have to invest in quality education, offering the same chance to these children in a rural villages, if you have to take a difference with the children in a village or in a town in New York or London. I have myself 2 kids here in England, and I always wanted to do a school as beautiful as the school where my kids go here. And every summer I go with my own children. We spend 6 weeks in the Congo, 6 weeks where they come every day with me in the village. And it's beautiful to see them being activists and philanthropists at such a young age, and they choose program and things that they want to give back. I was telling you about the 4 pillars that we have: the school, the community center, the agriculture, and the wells. Here, it's a community center we built partially with FIFA, and where we have more than 5,000 people a year coming to a community center to learn to read, write, because so many of the percentage is more than 70% of the population, parents doesn't know to read and write. So you have to teach them first to read, to write. Maman Katita didn't know how to hold a pen. Now she can hold a pen, she can write sentences, she can write in French, in Swahili. Now she can use a computer, and she go to a program that teach sewing and have her own company now that make clothes. And we emphasize a lot about giving key message and uniting the community via sport, to talk and to play via social development with the balls, with the sport, to talk about women's rights, children's rights. We distributed over 11,000 malaria nets. We created a program called Mamaya Mapendo, mean Mothers with Love, where our mothers are learning to make accessories, and we're selling them, and as an income generator. And via the pandemic, we made more than 3,000 sewed masks that we distributed over the villages. Our girls with the STEM team, they made over 1,500 mask shields that we distributed to people, but we distributed over 60 hospitals in the Katanga province. And it's so great, a father, we did a games of football where mothers never kick a ball and they never play against a men team, but it brings the community together. And we talk not only about the challenge, but success. We talk about what can be improving in the village. We plant trees, we clean the village all together. We do a day of peace. We have so many different celebration that we're doing, and all the programs that we have at Malaika, it's really protected by the community. A lot of the questions people ask us, do you do boys? Yes, we do boys. We have a lot of boys coming to study at a community center, and we sponsor more than 20 of them to where we're paying a private school for them. And this year, because we noticed that more than 85% of youth dropped at a very young age school, or they don't have any skills. So we will love to launch this year a technical classes where they will be integrated for 1 year into mechanic and electricity, and where we will be able to mentor them and put them on the market. Next slide. Water is life. Yesterday was the water day, and that's one of my very, very, very dear project that we put in place is to have built 20 wells and impacting more than 30,000 people a year. And when the pandemic arrived, we make sure we have a lot of resources all around villages where we're giving soap, where we were teaching about what was happening in the world, because they are so far away, they don't understand the crisis. And my intention was never to build wells. But when we started to build the school, in order to make the breaks, in order to build the toilet facilities, in order to have the canteen functional, you needed really to have water, and you needed to drill a well. And when we drilled the well, we have hundreds of people a day were coming to fetch water. And they were, I was asking them question, where are you from? Why are you coming to get water from here? And they were saying, we don't have water in our area. We walk 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. And I was trying to understand the lives, how many kids they have. Most of the household have between 5 to 8 people in their home, and they don't have water, neither to wash themselves, neither to cook, neither to drink. And for me, it was really an alarming point where we have to help the population, and we have to make more wells. And it's just amazing to see one well, the impact, and the 20 wells that we have, the impact, and how the lives have been dramatically saved and illness came down. Next slide. Food, it's so important, because these children that you're seeing on the pictures, most of them will eat probably 2 times a week at their home. So we make sure they have breakfast, not only breakfast and lunch at our school, but they come to learn at our organic farming how to grow food, how it's important that our food go back to the canteen. And when all the programs were closed, we were giving the food that we were growing. Next slide. During the pandemic, we had to reinvent ourselves, not only how we were going to fundraise, but how we will help the community. We make sure we sew masks. The food price of the food were jumping. A lot of families were really starving. So we make sure that 2 times a week, we were distributing food, not only from the school, but at different points in the village. Our girls were making the mask shield. We were offering hygiene resources at different points. And we were making sure that our staff were helping to understand the problems of the communities. We make sure that during this lockdown, we were able to pay all the staff, to not fire one single person, and I'm extremely proud we were able to keep all the staff. We used this time to do a lot of virtually training for the teachers, for the management, and starting to prepare lessons when our girls and all the programs, the community were coming back to Malaika School or Malaika Community Center. So it's difficult to explain in 10, 12 minutes what is Malaika, because it's been 12 years that we created Malaika, and 13 years, and we're going soon to 14 years. But it's been a lot of challenges. It's not easy to work in a country where it was so much instability, politically, economically, to work in a rural village where it was so difficult to reach even Malaika. We did a big lobbying to the government to ask them to make the road, and the road was built at 70%. And we still have to lobbying for the last 30% of the road. It brings a completely social economical development in the village, and is really, really, really good. We want to make sure that our our educational system that we're offering are safe, inclusive, that we really have a big emphasis on health. And I think we pray that there will not be another pandemic like this. But you know, Congo, it's a special country. It's so beautiful, so resilient.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we don't want to run out of time. We still have the next.
I'm just gonna finish my sentence.
Okay.
So, you know, when you talk about with the staff and the population, they will tell you, we went through war, we went through Ebola, we went through so many other things, and they want to get over this pandemic, and they're very, very resilient. So I invite you to visit our work, and thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you so much. Now I'll hand over the floor to Adrian.
Okay. I hope everybody can hear me clearly. I'm just trying to get set up.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, all right. So, well, good afternoon, good evening, and how's everybody doing in this difficult time? Well, I am supposed to be the discussant of the presentations that have been made, but due to time, I will not do the discussant role that I'm supposed to go through all the presentations and give an opinion on them. Rather, what I will do is just to go through what role evaluations have played in terms of our work in promotion of girls' education. So I'll just start maybe for those that may not be aware what evaluations are. They are just a systematic and impartial assessments or analysis of either an activity, a program, a project. It could be a strategy, it could be a theme or a sector, or an operational area, or even institutional performance. So in evaluation, we usually look at the level of achievement of either both the expected or unexpected results. And the main purpose why evaluations are carried out could be varied, and it varies across maybe the type of evaluation that you are undertaking. In our case, usually evaluations are undertaken for decision-making processes in our organization and also for our stakeholders. So as an evaluation team, we usually have evaluation going on at different levels, which includes country context, global context. Then we also ensure that the evaluations play a big role in the work that UNICEF is doing, especially in promoting girls' education. I will not go into the details, but mainly the purposes of evaluations include issues of accountability for results, as an institution, and maybe partners that are implementing evaluations. We usually have to account for the work that we are doing, especially if we are doing work for the vulnerable, like people like children, women and girls. We have to account at least to show that the results that people are claiming or have aimed to do are being achieved. So we try to do that through evaluations, as we try to at least see how accountable we are for those. Then the other purpose has been that of just knowledge generations. So evaluations have been used for a generation of evidence or knowledge. People want to know more about the programs that we are running and how those programs that we are running out there maybe having influence on other things and how they are leading to the impact that we would want to do, to achieve, I beg your pardon. Then evaluations have also been used for empowerment of vulnerable groups, especially in this case that we are discussing the topic of girls' education. We normally, in our evaluations, insist on having a much more inclusive approach, which includes even the people that we are evaluating, either children or their caregivers or the educators getting involved in the evaluation processes, so that in a way empowers them. Then the other purposes have included organizational learning and policy advocacy and national capacity development. So as the evaluation office at UNICEF, our policy actually advocates that gender is at the center of whatever we are doing. So we do that according to our policies through all the processes of evaluation. That includes in the planning processes, we make sure that gender is reflected, and in our design of the evaluations, then the methodologies and the analysis, and also the reporting. So all the stages of evaluations, we ensure that we are more gender responsive, and in a way that actually ensures that we capture the key issues that need to be captured on issues of gender, and also if it is an education related evaluation, we also capture on issues that have to do with girls' education, the issues of girls' participation, and things that are around girls' issues. Then I will not go into the details of how we incorporate that, because this is not an evaluation discussion, but rather I'll just move to examples of evaluations that the evaluation office and also our decentralized offices have also undertaken on girls' education.
Adrian, if I can, sorry to interrupt you. We have just 15 minutes left for Q&A. So if we could wrap up your presentation shortly so we have time for the questions. Thank you.
All right. No, I'm actually just wrapping up. This is my last slide. So in terms of evaluations, as I said at the beginning, we have undertaken evaluation, or we do undertake evaluations at all levels. And we have undertaken a number of evaluations on girls' education and also on other related issues that have to do with empowerment of women and girls. So I have just made a list of the evaluations that we have presented, but I was also going to maybe just summarize how in all those evaluations we have, as an evaluation office, we have helped at least assist in the improvement of our programs through the evaluation findings that we have made and recommendations. So through the listed evaluations, usually UNICEF has a process where we have to validate the results or the findings then with our constituencies, that is our stakeholders. And after we do that, we then now have to ensure that the recommendations are implemented and in a way that has had an impact on the type of programs that we have and the type of things that we are doing. So essentially, that is the role that evaluations have been playing. So I'll end here. I would have wished to go into the details of each evaluation, but I'll end here just for the sake of time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrian. So, okay, so we'll get started with our Q&A section. Our first couple questions are going to start with you, Ingrid. So I noticed that you reported that 49% of girls are accessing education during emergencies, and that this can constitute significant progress. Could you tell us more why it is difficult for girls to access education during emergencies?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Nicole. So typically during emergencies, there are several factors that prevent girls to access education or learning spaces at the same frequency as boys. It may be difficult, it may be dangerous to access learning spaces. And in situations where there is an ease of access, sometimes families want to protect the girl child. They feel fear to allow them to go to learning spaces, and sometimes it is gender norms and community traditions that dictate that girls should not continue their education, and boys' education is privileged. So there are many factors that come together to make it difficult for girls in emergencies to access an education. So when we see figures, as we have seen today, that during the COVID response is almost equal, half girls and boys accessing education, we see that we are making huge headway, huge progress in working with communities, in working with families, with girls, to making sure that progressively girls and boys have equal access to education, and that even in the most difficult circumstances, in the midst of war, in the midst of COVID response, girls have access to learning opportunity in safe places. Thank you.
Thank you. And then to branch off of that, in regard to the learning passport, how can the most marginalized girls who don't have access to the internet use it? So how can they take advantage of this learning opportunity?
That's a good question. Thank you for asking that. So something that is really interesting and innovative about the Learning Passport is that this digital platform works online and offline. So even in remote places with no wiring, no internet connectivity, no Wi-Fi, Microsoft, working with UNICEF and the University of Cambridge, have devised an innovative mechanism so that there is some sort of hardware that includes all the content, and girls and boys can navigate in their own tablets, in their own devices, the digital learning as if they are connected to the internet, but without requiring any connection or any special access or paying for data bundles or anything like that. So that makes this technology, this initiative, very attractive for accessing education in emergencies, especially for girls who often are not supported as much as other populations to access the internet. And I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to say that online safety for girls is a real issue. And in initiatives like the Learning Passport, UNICEF works very hard on online safeguarding. So this platform disallows completely that a random stranger on the web contacts a girl or a boy learning on the Learning Passport. So it's completely safe learning environments that are gender responsive for girls, for boys, and that can be accessed online or offline. Thanks.
Thank you. And we have a few questions for Nefertiri. So what tools can should we learn as individuals to help single mothers and their families? And how can we help mothers create their own support groups in their areas?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. The tools that you would definitely want to have, number one, is ignore the mother when she says she doesn't need help. That's the number one tool you need. She's always going to say, I got it. Don't worry about it. You know, everything's okay. Just step in the gap. And I would even say have about 3 things that you could potentially help her with, whether if it's taking her kids for a walk or allowing her, you know, 10, 20 minutes just to take a nap, you know, even having some resources, keeping your eyes and ears open for resources that may pop up about things in your community, whether if it could potentially be, you know, free groceries or subsidized childcare or job openings. Even if she is in a job that she loves, she may very well need something on the side to help make ends meet, especially now more than ever. I mean, let alone my food bill has doubled, sometimes tripled, because my kids are at home and I have teenagers and I have boys and they eat a lot, right? So all those little things really do add up. And what was the second question?
How can communities support single mothers?
And create their own single moms community,
yes.
right? Okay, yes. So you can create your own community of single moms and get that support with each other, just even with having 1 to 2 other moms that are in your network. Every woman that I know, typically they know a single mom, even if they're not one themselves. And even the men that are in my life, they know single moms as well. So don't be afraid to ask. Are there single moms in your network? And then also, if you're looking for funding for your single moms group, you can look at your local community organizations, churches. Online support groups are great, especially if you're not able to meet in person. You can do this all over the world with women that are needing that support in that community, and you could do that online, especially through Facebook, which I think is a great way to do it as well.
And then another question off that. So how would you support girls who are being raised by single mothers right now? What kind of help do they need?
Yeah, so girls being raised by single moms, wow, I was a girl that was raised by a single mom. And just that reassurance, letting that little girl know that she's not alone, right? Like that she's got that support. And if there are any type of community organizations that do have supportive and balanced male presence, right, that is safe and secure, this is going to be key if possible. For her to also have some form of mentorship with, siblings, or just even having that one-on-one attention by herself, just to really make sure that you're pouring into her individually and that she's getting something that she needs, right? And so sometimes girls don't really want to open up when maybe there's a big community of people around them. They may want to open up maybe more with one-on-one support. So from even other women in the community, that even if you just give a young girl 15 minutes of your time, an hour of your time, it could literally shift her entire life, right? Just giving that time and giving that space for her to really grow. And a lot of times we don't know what we're capable of until someone gives us that little light to shine on the possibilities, right? So letting her see the possibilities, that she really can have it all, she can do it all, and that you will hold the space for her to really create that experience for her life. Right. And so that's what we do with Single Moms Planet. A lot of what we do is really giving kids the opportunity to have experiences that the mother may not be able to provide on her own, whether if it's financially or it's just time constraint. Right. And so we love helping the community to do that. And so that's a great way to really step in and support little girls in your network and in your neighborhood.
Thank you. I think we have time for maybe one more question. So this one will be directed at you, Noella. So how might you strengthen or change programs following this crisis?
So we're really emphasizing on the training of the staff with hygiene, with health, with quality education, with digital learning. And we really make sure that the community and the student are really aware. And we're making progress. In September, we're gonna greet 30 more students. And the community, we really have to do a lot of emphasizing on keeping the hygiene going, because the problem is they don't read the news, they don't watch TV. So you have to constantly having meeting with the parents, meeting with the community, how we are there for them and how we can still work together through this pandemic.
Thank you. And then,
Adrienne, I love your presentation about monitoring evaluation. I need to be in touch with you. because that's exactly what we strengthening and working to on the evaluation of all the programs.
And then, well, this question can kind of be directed at everyone, but if anyone has some input, what kind of support, oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. How can we support our families during the pandemic and during the war? So some people out there struggling and looking for some help, if anyone has some suggestions.
If I may speak on that, I think, you can just start with your neighborhood. I always say that, you start within your family, then you look at your neighbors and you try to see what they need. And just like what Nefertari was saying, bring them a meal, even if, even if they're a complete family. We're all going through something that's so unique that hasn't happened in 100 years. So this is all very new to us. So even if we cannot touch each other, even if we cannot hug, the point that we can actually try to make this small gestures can mean a lot to someone, because so many people are going through depression and other issues that we don't know, that we don't talk about. And people are scared to talk about this because COVID is such a scary, virus that has affected everyone. But apart from that, there has been so many effects that have been haunting all of us for more than a year. And I think it's important to just check on people and reach out, because you never know what you say or what you give can actually change a life or save a life.
Thank you. Yes, and I think that will be our last question for today, and we have some closing remarks from Ewan, I believe.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining this very interesting webinar, especially to our speakers and discussant, Dr. Ingrid Sanchez-Tapia, Pia Gladys Pere, Nefertari Plessy, Noella Corsaris Masonka, and Adrian Chique. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation and video. The recording and presentations will be available in the Global Development Commons. Just give about 24 to 48 hours before it goes up there. The links I have shared in the chat. And also, I take this opportunity to invite you all to our next webinar. It's happening this Thursday, 25th of March at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 4 p.m. Central European Time. It's on the unaccompanied and separated children in their transition to adulthood in Italy. It's one of the best of UNICEF research and evaluation webinar series. Also, thank you again for watching and joining us. Please keep watch on our UNICEF evaluation news and events space. I also shared that with in the chat. Anything else? Uyen, over to you if you have anything to say.
Nothing to say, just an incredible array of fascinating discussion and great work from all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and we hope that we'll remain a collaboration between you and your respective agencies. Forge ahead. Thank you so much, everyone.